Welcome into the Ostrom Avenue podcast. AJ Myers alongside Griffin Bloomstein. We just had Memorial Day weekend. Griffin, summer is officially kicked off. I know what you did Memorial Day weekend. We're going to get into that. But how has your summer been so far?
Summer's been great. I was outside a lot of the weekend, a little sunburn going, which I guess I should not be too happy about because, as my mom said, that's sunburns are not good. So if make sure you wear sunscreen, folks. But no, I had a good weekend. It's nice and sunny here in Boston, pretty warm temperatures. If you're out in the sun, it got pretty hot over the weekend. So that was exciting, definitely. I had a good Memorial Day weekend. I had a burger, which is like just a staple for Memorial Day weekend. But how was yours, AJ?
It was good. I was at the beach as well, and I also got sunburned. So, PSA from the Ostrom Avenue podcast: wear sunscreen. And it always happens to me. Like the first time I'm like out on the beach or out in the sun, that first time, I always wind up getting some kind of sunburn. But then after that, I'm pretty good with the sunscreen. It's like I need that reminder, like, oh
Mm.
yeah, like I get sunburned really easily. Another team who got burned easily,
Aw.
I know, it had to. It was too easy. Was on Saturday, right before Memorial Day weekend. It was Syracuse men's lacrosse. They fell to Maryland in the semifinal, 14-8. And it started off well. The first 60 seconds of the game was great. Owen Hilt scored a goal, and you thought, here we go. This is it. But then after that, Maryland went on an 8-0 run. And towards the end of the second quarter, Syracuse finally scored their second goal of the game thanks to Finn Thompson. But by then, Griffin, it was already an 8-2 game, and there was no coming back. And really, nothing surprised me because when we talked to Tim Leonard and what we talked about last week, this Maryland team is really good defensively. And once they build a lead, they don't give it up. And there was a stretch there in the third quarter. It was 10-5. Luke Rowe made it 10-5 about midway through the third quarter. You thought, oh, maybe cardiac use. They did it against Harvard, but I was listening to the AR broadcast, a little bit of the ESPN one as well, and Anish Schnauf just basically kind of put it. He's like, "Well, this isn't Harvard. This is Maryland, and this Maryland team was not backing down. A disappointment, definitely, Griffin, that this team just couldn't deliver on Memorial Day weekend."
After that first Owen Hill school take the lead, 1-0, I was like, okay, Syracuse about to steamroll the Terrapins. And then Maryland decided, okay, we've been here before with Logan McNaney in net. We're not going to let you get any easy shots. We're not even going to let you score another goal. And then Maryland was just like, okay, we stamped this game. Eric Spanos was like, okay, I'm gonna have 4 goals, and you're not gonna be able to do anything about it. Daniel Kelly, there's so many different guys. Urksa for Maryland that just outperformed what they should have, and Syracuse's offense went non-existent. Nothing. Joey Spallina, 1 point. Yes, you gotta credit Maryland's defense, but if you're gonna talk your talk after Princeton, you gotta be able to back it up in the Final Four in the championship weekend. And so it's a little disappointing. Syracuse back, got to the Final Four, got to championship weekend. Congrats. But then again, I thought this was going to be something where Syracuse, they have all the talent in the world. I thought they were going to do something. They do not. Jimmy McCool didn't have an awful day. Like Maryland was just
No.
taking shot after shot, draining the shot clock, a lot of time in Syracuse's zone. And that's what kind of Jimmy McCool was just he was just playing on his heels because he was always have to be worried about Maryland shooting, but they would drain so much clock. Maryland just played its game and it worked to perfection. John Mullen didn't have a great day. He also didn't have a great day against Princeton,
No.
so a little which is weird because John Mullen was fantastic in the ACC tournament. For most of the season, he was incredible. In the past couple of games, he's been a little shaky. So Syracuse season over, success, we can debate about that forever, but it's just disappointing that how this team played towards the end.
It is. And I think with the John Bowen thing, biggest thing he has to work on this offseason is the violations. I mean, in the
Yeah.
Princeton and Maryland game combined, it's got to be close to 20 violations. And that was just killing him because it was almost inevitable that he'd have to sit out some of the draw or some of the face-offs because he got a violation. And I get that's how he's so good because he's so quick, but holy smokes. He was jumping the whistle so many times these last two games, and it was kind of frustrating because it was kind of like it went from, oh, John Mullen's always going to win all these face-offs to, oh, well, John Mullen, he's probably going to commit a violation and Syracuse isn't going to get the ball. And then I want to have the Joey Spallina conversation because on the Ostrom Avenue podcast this whole season, me and Griffin have been extremely supportive of Joey Spallina. He's had a great year, and we both agreed that Joey Spallina is never single-handedly going to win you a game. However, though, if you talk the talk like you did after Princeton, you say all this stuff. I get Maryland has a great defense, but you got one assist, and in the words of San Reese on the double overtime, it was a Mickey Mouse assist because it was at the end of the game. You expect more from your best player, and no, he didn't deliver. He didn't have a good game. Is this, me writing Joey Spallina off? No, but hopefully this. I don't think he needs a fire under his belly, but you just need something to say like these performances, if you're the best guy on the team, can happen. And we're going to get to the final. Look at what CJ Kurtz did. He didn't have a stinker in the final. He had an excellent game. So you got to look at yourself in the mirror if you're Joey Spallina and say, I simply can't have these kind of dud games in the biggest point of the season.
I don't think he can have a dud game at all. That I
No.
mean, if Syracuse is going to be a national championship contender, Joey Spallina cannot afford to have an off game against any team that is ranked. And that happens a little too frequently for Syracuse to be considered a national championship contender, at least this season. And I mean, and that's what we saw in the Maryland game. Didn't perform to what he should as number 22 in Syracuse. And they were honoring the 2000 team at on Monday at the 25th anniversary, and that team had guys. When you're
Yeah.
just talking about scores, like Joey Spallina, if he wants to be in that conversation, duds cannot happen. And it's unfortunate that it happened in the biggest game of Syracuse's season. And that's what happened. You can't let your opponent score 8 goals straight. And it goes back to those faceoffs. Syracuse's game, they play quick. When you're winning those faceoffs and you're playing in transition, they can be so deadly. But that just didn't happen. They didn't have those opportunities on Saturday, and it just stunk. It led to a pretty bad game because there was no hope for Syracuse. When you said the only hope they had was in that third quarter, they were still down 5 goals. And against a Maryland team that chews up out of the 80 seconds of the shot clock, they like to chew up 60 or 70 of them at least.
Maryland plays the boringest form of lacrosse, but
So
but
boring.
it is effective. It
Yeah.
works. It's not fun, it's not pretty, but it worked, and it worked perfectly against Syracuse. And I think, if you're Gary Gait, I think you look yourself in the mirror and say, how can I become a better coach this offseason in terms of game planning, in terms of in-game strategy? Because, I mean, I'm sure we all saw the meme. I'm sure everyone listening, saw the meme. I guess when it was a 6-1 or 7-1, Gary Gait was like this. And it was just kind of like, do you have any answers, Coach Gait? And I don't think he did. And that's okay. In game against Maryland, fine. But before the game, how could you strategize better to knock off a Maryland team that if you want to get back to Memorial Day, odds are you'll probably see the Terrapins and Gary Gait in general just can't beat Maryland either way. Um, Quickly, Griffin, before we talk about next year, I think this year was a success. I
Mhm.
don't think there's any like you did like Tim Leonard was saying, you did better than you did last year. I don't think you can argue saying this season wasn't a success.
Yeah, I agree. But
Yeah,
it's just disappointing. Like it can be a success and be disappointing. It's what last year was. Last year was a success. You made the tournament, you won a game, and then it's disappointing. This season, you made the tournament, you won 2 games, and then it's disappointing. Next season, you got to win a final. You got to win a game Memorial Day weekend. You have to. You have to.
yeah,
Have to. Have to.
and they
And
won't have.
then,
Go ahead.
I mean, but then talking about next year,
Yeah,
you have guys that you need to replace.
yeah,
Owen
that's
Hiltz.
what I was gonna get to. Yep.
Your starting attackman. Owen Hiltz, you got to replace him. Sam English, who plays 2 ways, is one of the best clearers in the country, was your best dodger this year, and was the third overall pick in the PLL draft. You have to replace him. And then you have to replace one of your long pull defensemen in Michael Grace. 3 guys, 3 starters. Now, most teams, luckily, have to replace more than 3 starters. So Syracuse has an advantage, but you're also losing some other guys too. Carter Rice, you're losing Carter Rice, one of the best short stick defensive midfielders in all of college lacrosse. There are
But
guys that
what's
Syracuse is going to have to replace. So this is what Syracuse has to do. The transfer portal There's already some guys in it. There's already some guys committed to teams, which I think is kind of ridiculous. It's like the first week. Let's calm down a little bit. But Syracuse and Gary Gait has some stuff to work with.
Definitely. And it's going to be interesting. And, you'd also expect next season that Joey Spallina would be competing for a Touraton award. I want to now move on as also, a best of wishes to all those guys that are moving on. 17 players on this roster were either graduate students, redshirt seniors, or seniors. So the roster is going to look a little different next year, but you still have that fundamental class. It's got one more year, that Joey Spallina class that has a lot of guys in it. And the expectation when that class arrived was that they would bring some hardware. Still waiting for that. You got the ACC tournament. I think that's a stepping block, but of course, you want that national championship. And speaking of the national championship, a team that did secure it on Memorial Day weekend was Cornell. I watched some of the game, but I'm going to toss it to you, Griffin. You were there. How was it?
I was there. It was an electric atmosphere. I'm not gonna lie. Cornell, Maryland, a rematch of the 2022 national
Yes,
championship.
2022.
Yep, 2022. There was a lot of Cornell fans. There were, I think, 32,000 people in attendance at Gillette. I think 32, yeah, 32.5, which is a good number.
Yeah,
For the women's tournament, there was like 14.5, which was their largest ever. So good showing here from our Boston faithful, Lacrosse, New England. There's also probably a lot of New York people. But anyways, the Cornell fans showed out strong. There was a decent amount of Maryland fans too, but more Cornell. The Cornell section was pretty loud. But like immediately off the gate, Cornell came on the field early. Maryland took like a long time to come out on the field. They didn't come out
at
onto
the
the
start of
field
the game.
before the
Okay.
game, till like 15, 20 minutes left. And I was just like, okay, like it's classic Maryland. They're just waiting and waiting and waiting. That's just how they play. But like the one thing I noticed was CJ Kurst was ready. He was just locked in. And then in the game, he had a slow start. I thought it was
Mhm.
gonna be like, okay, CJ Kurst, like he did not play well in that first quarter. He was not the CJ Kurst that we had seen all season. He was more the CJ Kurst that we had seen in the NCAA tournament when he was struggling a little. He hadn't been so dominant in the past couple of rounds. And then all of a sudden, he was just like, all right, wait, this is Maryland. Like, they're good, but they're not that good. Like, I'm the best player in the country. Go out and score 6 goals. Like, that's how good CJ Kirsch was. He showed why he was the best player in the country. He was doing it all while being injured. He had a wrap on his hand after the game. Ryan Goldstein, who's just a sophomore, his dad played at Cornell. He's electric. He scored 4 goals, was passing. The hustle from Cornell. But the real thing that I think stuck out from this game was the goalie battle, AJ. Logan McNaney was really good, but Will Nust went toe for toe with him.
It looked like a thrilling game. It really did. And congrats to Cornell. I mean, they really were the best team all season long. I mean, I don't forget what their preseason ranking was, but once the middle of the season hit, RPI
Fun
and everything,
fact,
they were top three. Yeah, go ahead.
there was only one person to have Cornell number one in the preseason rankings as number one, and it was
Wow.
Anish Shroff.
I mean, Syracuse
Shout out the
knows what he's
WAER
doing.
guys. I mean,
He's
they know best.
He does, and credit to Anisha and his whole ESPN staff. They did a great job. Brett Axe had a tweet. They always do make lacrosse games feel like a big game, and I completely agree with that. But yeah, I mean, and for Syracuse, that's the standard. I think if you watch that Cornell Maryland game, that is the standard, and I think every player and coach could take something from that. Joey Spallina, look at CJ Kurse. He turned it on. You said it. He flipped the switch. That's something in Joey Spallina when it's not going his way. At halftime, I was kind of thinking, I'm like, I don't think Joey Spallina is going to score in this game. He didn't score in this game. He doesn't have that ability to flip the switch and really score goals. And then I think for Coach Gait, what can you do to improve this team X's and O's wise? I think that's something that he definitely needs to look at this offseason and kind of change the approach. And you mentioned the women's tournament. I do want to mention that as well because holy smokes, North Carolina they are a team. I mean, you want to talk about best teams, women's lacrosse teams ever. North Carolina destroyed Florida 20-4, and then they did beat Northwestern 12-8. And Griffin, you did say that women's final had a quite a big attendance as well. So credit to North Carolina, ACC getting some hardware as well. So that wraps up lacrosse. So we thought, but before Memorial Day weekend, We had a earthquake of a news and breaking news. Some weren't as surprised as others. I was still surprised, and it's that Kayla Treanor is no longer the head coach of Syracuse women's lacrosse. She has left the program to join Penn State as the head coach, and this, to me, it came as a shock. And obviously, there are stuff behind the scenes that led to this move from Coach Treanor that we don't know about, but still, I was surprised. It has nothing to come from the university. It was entirely from Coach Treanor. She decided to leave and join Penn State. And Griffin, I mean, we talked about this off season for women's lacrosse. Now it was kind of a reset. I mean, now it is a real reset now.
It's interesting the way it all played out. I think that, I mean, Syracuse obviously underperformed this year. It was dealt a tough card with a very young group, Olivia Adamson going down with injury early in the season. But, I mean, safe to say it, this team has had plenty of talent for the past couple of years and never really reached the peak of where they could play. And so I think this offseason was going to be a big one for Syracuse women's lacrosse. Was Kayla Treanor going to get fired? Was she going to leave? Was it going to be a mutually parting ways? Like, you didn't know. She could have stayed, she could have left, whatever. I think the way it happened, where it was reported that she met with the team and told them that she was going to Penn State. So it seemed like Penn State probably, hey, Coach Treanor, we want you to come coach. And she was like, yep, boom, I'm gone.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it made it seem to us, the I guess you can say the media, the fans, whatever you want to call it, the Syracuse faithful. And so that's kind of what happened. And it was a little shocking at first, just out of the blue, no real explanation. It kind of just happened. And then everyone's just like, okay, I guess, sure, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Like no one's really complaining, no one's really happy. Like it just kind of happened. And I think now the question is, Syracuse needs to work quickly. Get your new head coach because there's going to be waves of players entering the transfer portal. Olivia Adamson, we mentioned her already. She was one of Syracuse's best players the past couple of years, an All-American, and not this season because she was injured, but last season. She entered the transfer portal. Syracuse is going to have plenty of other players that they can get or lose based on who the next head coach is. I think they need to make a decision quick. AJ, do you have any names in mind?
I do, and this name did not come from me. It came, I was on, I've been on X all weekend, and it came from friend of the podcast. Brent Axe does a great job at Syracuse.com. He mentioned Joe Spalina, and why not? He has been at Stony Brook for 14 seasons. He's done wonders there. He's won a ton of games. Hasn't had a ton of postseason success, but it's Stony Brook. It's not they can't compete, especially now with any ACC program or a Big Ten program. I think that's simple. I mean, he has plenty of Syracuse ties, and then I'm sure he could flip his daughter to Syracuse from
Back to
Clemson to Syracuse.
Syracuse.
Back to Syracuse. I'm sure he could do that. I'm kind of thinking it's not going to happen because I feel like it would have already happened. But as of right now, Caitlin Watkins is serving as the interim head coach. She's been on the coaching staff since 2016. So it's more of a caretaker role. I don't think maybe she'll be long term. I don't think so. But I think if there is a push for her, it is the fact that she's been there since 2016. She does have some kind of experience. But I mean, come on, John Wildhack. Joe Spleen is the obvious choice, I think.
By far. By far the obvious choice. I know there was some, I wouldn't say bad blood, but there
Yeah.
I think it was last season where there was some controversy because his team got put in some bad conditions outside SU soccer stadium after or during a game. Like the bench or the team gathering area wasn't up to what it should have been. Um, that Joe Spalina had the right to be upset about. But this is more than that. Joe Spalina has been at Stony Brook since 2012.
Yep.
He's also an assistant coach on the U.S. women's national team. He's
Knows
the
the game of
general
women's cross.
he knows the game of women's lacrosse. He's the general manager of a PLL team, the California Redwoods. His dad, no, not his dad. He is the dad of Joey Spalina. He makes it a point to go to Joey's games. That would be easier if he's coaching at
Yeah.
Syracuse. It just makes too much sense. He is so connected. He's brought Stony Brook to the NCAA tournament almost every single year he's been there. 12 straight tournament appearances. which is all of them.
Yeah.
He's 84-2 record across the America East and the CAA in conference. He knows how to win. He knows how to coach. He obviously has done it because he's done it in college. He's done it professionally with the national team. He's taught his kids to be some of the best lacrosse players in the country. It just makes too much sense. Syracuse wants to take itself seriously. Go get Joe Spallina, go make it quick, and then let the offseason start.
Yeah, I think it's a clear choice, and I'm kind of surprised that really we haven't heard more about it yet. But stay locked to the Ostrom Avenue podcast. We'll keep you updated all summer long on what happens head coaching wise for Syracuse women's lacrosse and for Kayla Treanor. Props to her. I mean, she only lost 24 games in 4 years. That is still pretty impressive. But I mean, if you want to talk legacy, though, there is the one big dent. You could never get past Boston College, and you couldn't really perform in those final 4 games. But I
And
mean,
guess,
Kayla Trainer can still coach.
yeah, and guess who gave Boston College a run for their money in the NCAA tournament?
Penn State.
Stony Brook.
Oh, okay. Stony
They
Brook.
only
Okay,
lost
wasn't.
by 3. Stony Brook only lost by 3
Yeah.
to Boston College. You know
Yeah.
how much Syracuse lost by?
I don't want to remember that. What was it? 21
A
to.
lot more than 3, a lot
Yeah.
more than 5, a lot
Yeah.
more than 10. They lost by 15.
Yeah.
Syracuse lost
They
by
could use some of
15.
that.
Stony Brook lost by 3. Make it
Yeah.
happen. Make it happen. Go get John. Go get Joe Spallina, John Wildhack.
I think it's clear. It would definitely put the program not back on the map, but as we were saying, a good reset, a good starting point reset, especially because again, there's already a big list of players that are rumored to be leaving or in the transfer portal and heading out of Syracuse. So interesting news. It was kind of a bombshell, but again, Kayla Treanor no longer the head coach of Syracuse women's lacrosse. There is an interim hit right now, a caretaker basically, and Caitlin Watkins. But me and Griffin both think Joe Spallina is the clear choice to take over that program and lead it back to the success it was having. And it wasn't too far long ago. It was really just 2 seasons ago that they were competing in the biggest games. Now to men's basketball. It was quite the Memorial Day on the Hill. A lot happening. Men's basketball added a 7-foot center, and I'm probably going to mispronounce the name. I haven't heard it pronounced too much yet. This player is kind of came out of nowhere. He hasn't played in high school. He's from Maui. Kaifeng Dawar, I think that's what we're gonna go with right now. Again, 7-foot center from Maui. He chose Syracuse over Oregon and Kansas State. Not Oregon, excuse me, Kansas State and Baylor. He picked over. So, it's a center. I mean, he's unproven. I saw his highlight tape on YouTube, Griffin, and I mean, he can dunk, but he's 7 foot, so I'd expect him to dunk. That's about all I know. I mean, his whole YouTube highlight clip is him catching the ball down low in the paint, turning around and dunking. I mean, he won't be able to do that in an NCAA game.
No, probably not his freshman year, but maybe hopefully by his junior or senior year, if he's still
Yeah,
around, or maybe his 5th year.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, project, fine. Just
definitely. Yeah.
can you develop him? Hopefully. That's the question. Does he stay long enough where it's meaningful? Who knows? Obviously, Syracuse only kept 2 players on its roster from last year to this year. Will that happen again? Who knows? You needed more size on this team. You didn't have
Yeah.
anybody at that 7 foot mark, so at least we'll see what is official or what Syracuse says
Yeah.
his official his
His
height
weight is
is.
apparently 240, but that's kind of all over the place.
I mean, interesting. I'm glad we have something to talk about with this basketball team. They still have, I think, 2 empty roster spots, so there's something to be done there. There's still some good players in the transfer portal
Yeah,
that
13
Syracuse could
players.
dish out some NIL money to, but who knows? Um, Another center, I mean, you can't be mad about it.
No.
I don't think you'd have the right to be too happy about it either. So we'll wait and see for that little program over there, Syracuse men's basketball. Good to talk about them though.
Yeah. Yeah, 13 players are currently on the roster, and two only natural centers. They got the one from UCLA, William Kyle. He's the other center. He has much more experience. It'll be interesting to see how much this kid plays his freshman year. And again, you bring up the biggest point. Can he stay around to develop? Because, I mean, there's no expectation for him this year. I don't, I'd be shocked if he was really a key player, but who
I'd be
knows
shocked
what
if he
he.
hits the floor more than 5 games.
Yeah, yeah. So it's an interesting one for sure. I think it just made noise because he was a center, and that's kind of what Syracuse fans have been asking for, me included. I just don't want to see Donnie Freeman at the five. I don't want that. But that's definitely a conversation for later in the fall, which we're already talking about. We're done with spring, we're in the summer, and you know what else is in the fall? Football, and that is now officially on everybody's mind. A few days ago, it was. I know on Saturday it was 98 days away until Syracuse, Tennessee. So we're recording this on Tuesday. So do the math there. 90 something days until Syracuse and Tennessee kick off in Atlanta. It will be a thrilling game. Before that, though, you had a little appetizer on Thursday. The ACC network, Syracuse football had a decision to make for the spring game. It was either they broadcast the whole game or they do this documentary thing. And that's what they chose to do. And it was pretty entertaining, Griffin. I had a good time watching it. I'm going to toot my own horn here. At the end of the documentary, I was in it. Um, Blue suit. It was the back of my head. And that's about it. So that's all. That was my just praising myself there. I snuck into the documentary. But anyways, I enjoyed it. It was cool seeing the new complex. I was really fascinated with that. And also, for me, the biggest takeaway is Fran Brown is awesome. I mean, how can you not like Fran Brown? I mean, the guy is so awesome. Him and Felicia Leggett-Jack are my two favorite coaches ever, I think. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot of good coaches that teams I've supported that have had good coaches. But I mean, those two are together. I need that. I need that together. I need that one-on-one of them just talking whatever. Because Fran Brown, I mean, while I'm watching this documentary, he makes me want to just do this community service and do all these wonderful things that he is doing. And I mean, he seems to do no wrong.
Yeah, I'm not going to say much else about Fran Brown's character because that's already said. What a guy. I mean, like when he was talking to the team about like people talk about Dart all the time and Dart this
Yeah.
and Dart that and
They
you
laugh
know
about it,
they
but
laugh
it's
about it.
not a
They just
laughing matter. It is not a laughing matter.
not at all. They think it's just something like Fran just says it to the media.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't actually
Oh,
preach this. Oh, you're wrong.
yeah.
What's the first thing that Fran Brown said? I wrote this down. I had some notes. Dart was mentioned at least 20 times in the first 7 minutes of this
Wow,
documentary.
that's awesome.
It
That's
was absurd. It
wow.
was Dart here, Dart there, Dart everywhere. I mean, it was magical. I think
What would our
what
motto be?
um
We need a
weather, Chipotle.
yeah, really. WC Weather Chipotle talk. WCT Weather Chipotle talk.
There we
But
go.
go back to the important stuff. Your points on the documentary.
No, I mean it was awesome. I think
Yeah.
just like how much the people believe in Fran Brown, everyone coming back. I mean Kyle, OG being there around spring practice, like they did not need to be in Syracuse
No.
at all, unless they were taking a class or two, which they could have been. But like even so, they could have still left. Like they them being there says a lot. A couple other things. The first interview was Mark Petrie, who transferred, which I thought was a little uh it was a little sad
Yeah,
because
that
you
was a
could
little
see he
weird.
was a good leader and he could have been a vocal piece on the offensive line. But the other like main interviewees, now they probably did some more, but the ones that stood out and the ones they played a lot, Yasin Willis, Deuce Chestnut, Devin Grant. And I think that was kind of interesting. Yasin Willis, he was a freshman last year. He got some good time. He got some good minutes. People had a lot of high expectations after a very good spring. And then the regular season, he had some flashy moments, but he wasn't like an X factor, obviously, because of LaQuinn Allen. I think he's going to be your starting running back, and it looks like he's going to be one of the big faces of the team, at least on the offensive side, with the uncertainty at quarterback. And then you got Deuce. I mean, Deuce, he was a star freshman year. Then he transferred to LSU, obviously made the wrong
Yeah.
decision, and then came back. Like, that's just Deuce. Like, he's back. And he's going to be a leader. And then Devin Grant, a guy who was at Buffalo, came over, had a great year last year with Fran Brown. He's going to be another leader. Devin Grant's a guy that I think could get drafted after next season. Watch out. But then the one thing that I was just like, all right, I think this is gonna happen. Is it actually gonna happen? They had like a whole 10-minute segment. I'm not sure if it was actually 10 minutes, but it was a long, full segment about Demetrius Samuel Jr. Like
Yeah, did.
they had a whole segment about how he was playing off the ball. Fran was all doing a lot of one-on-one work with Demetrius Samuel. I was just like, okay, like hype me up. This kid can play both ways. Like he can catch the ball, he can play defense. The one part I was like, this was like the moment I was like, all right, Fran's legit. Like Fran's legit. Demetrius Samuel, he was gassed. He had his water. He was running off the field, but he wasn't like running. He was like walking off the field.
Yeah.
And Fran was like, no, I know you're gassed, but like get back here, run off that field. Demetrius Samuel came back, ran off that field, like jogged, not just like casually walked like he did the first time. He like jogged off that field like Fran wanted him to. And like it was like that sort of little stuff that not every head coach is doing. Some head coaches are very like laissez-faire, hands off. They're just on the sidelines, just observing. Fran's like talking, he's communicating, he's up there teaching, which I think is big, especially for the Syracuse team that is really, really young. This is not an experienced Syracuse team like last year, where they had Kyle, they had Fadil Diggs, they had Barron, they had Wax, they had Meeks, all these seniors. This is a team that is going to be starting a lot of underclassmen. And so I think that like hands-on experience, especially from this coaching staff, is big. And I think another thing that they highlighted is just all the coaches returning. Like
Yeah.
I thought Elijah Robinson was going to get poached. I thought Jeff Nixon was going to leave. I thought there was a chance Nunzio Campanelli was going to leave. All these
Especially the
guys
NFL.
had, yeah, Campanelli and Nixon had interviews with NFL teams. Elijah Robinson was in the running for a couple head coaching jobs in college. Like these were guys that could have left, but they're back. And I think that's going to be a big part of next season's football team.
Yeah, and I think that's a part people aren't talking about. The coaching staff stayed intact. And I mean, you see this in the NFL a lot as well. As soon as the team has a good year, whoop, there goes the whole coaching staff. But with Syracuse, I mean, they had a great year and that didn't happen. And I mean, John Wildhack, I mean, he just struck gold with Fran Brown. And I mean, complete 180 from what you had with Dino Babers to what you now have with Fran Brown, and really a coach that I think you have, I mean, knock on wood, for the next 20, 30 years. It is Fran Brown leading this Syracuse program. And you mentioned Yasin Willis, and I think he's going to be a huge part to this team's success. He needs to have a big year, and I don't think there's pressure on him, but I just think he needs to have a big year because Syracuse, they've really brought back that running back factory from Sean Tucker to last year as well. So I mean, they need to continue on that good standing with running backs and have that established running game. I thought the other interesting part was, for me at least, was the whole Kyle McCord getting to see him get drafted to the Eagles, his hometown team, at the end of the doc, right towards the end of it, was really interesting. And the other key thing that was not mentioned, quarterbacks. Didn't see anything from any quarterbacks. I think that was interesting. I think that kind of tells you that I don't, excuse me, I don't think Fran Brown really has his quarterback situation figured out, Griffin.
Yeah, I mean there was nothing about
Nothing on quarterbacks. Nothing at
there was
all.
there's a little on Ricky Collins, but like you just saw him
Barely.
throwing the ball.
Yeah.
I think he might have talked for like 5, 10 seconds, and that's it. But it was definitely interesting the way they played it. Also, I mean, I assume this was filmed in the middle during the spring game, before the spring game, and a little after the spring game.
Yeah.
But there was no sign or sod of Trevor Pena at all. I think
Yeah.
that was just
That
awesome.
too. I didn't think of
Like
that. Yeah.
obviously, like he played a big factor into spring ball before the spring game. He was at spring game. He wasn't playing,
Yeah.
but he was there. Like, so I think there's just guys like that are just gonna step up, and Fran's gonna find his guys. Demetrius Samuel. He said he could be a top 5 player in the country. He could be top 1. Come to Syracuse. That's what Fran said. Like in the special. And I think Fran is special. And I think that's going to be seen this fall with a hard schedule. A lot of these over/under win totals is 5.5. I think that's a little low, but there'll be some more football talk down the line in the
Oh,
summer, and definitely a
absolutely.
lot in the fall.
Yes, absolutely. And that is the one bummer. The summer has arrived. So that means Ostrom Avenue podcast never disappears. It's always there. You can listen back to our entire lacrosse season. I encourage you to, even if it's over. There's some great interviews. Do you have a favorite, Griffin, from the lacrosse season?
Probably Rick Beardsley. I mean,
Yep, that's what I was gonna say.
or Lars. Lars is great too. I mean, all the coaches that we got were awesome.
Yes.
We got I think we got more coaches this year than we have in the past couple of years, so that's awesome. Um, Colgate got it. We got Colgate's head coach. Um, Virginia, Duke, some other coaches. I mean, we're just gonna be next year. We're just lining up coaches, 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 coaches.
Yeah, and
Because lacrosse coaches are the best.
they are.
They're willing to talk. They're so personable, friendly, and that's what we're all about.
Yes, exactly. And it was a great season of lacrosse. I know it didn't end well for Syracuse, but it was a fun season talking about it and a fun season watching about it. And now it's football season, and boy, do we have an exciting football team to discuss all summer long. It is the summer though, so episodes won't be every week. It'll maybe be in every other week. Maybe some lulls when there's not anything big happening. But as soon as there is an official announcement with a head coach for women's lacrosse, Ocean Avenue Podcast will be the first place to go. Me and Griffin will break that down immediately as soon as it happens. That's the big news we're waiting for. And if basketball picks up a notable name, we'll say maybe we'll talk about it depending on what the name is and then how much NCAA experience they have. And of course, as soon as summer camp gets rolling, we will have you locked in with all the news and especially the quarterback situation because that will be the talk of the town is who will be leading Syracuse onto the field in week one for Syracuse football. That will be the talk of the town, definitely. But for right now, we hope everyone has a great summer and continue listening to the Ostrom Avenue podcast. It won't be every week, but it'll be every other week sometime, something like that. Stay locked on Twitter and on WAR.org. That's where you can find all of our episodes or wherever you have your podcast. But until then, have a great summer and keep listening to the Ostrom Avenue podcast no matter what.